Welcome to this Facebook Live session. My name is Dave Keating, and I am here at GE Garages, which is taking place in Brussels. This is a pop-up initiative that's showcasing new technologies in the digital industrial sector. So we're learning about a lot of different technologies here today. And we're having this Facebook Live session about the future of Europe. And I'm joined here, right to my left to my right, by two very important members from the private and public sectors. So to my left here is Kaja Kallas, a liberal Estonian MEP. And to my right is Hendrik Bourgeois, Vice President at GE for European Affairs. Now, obviously, I don't have to tell any of you out there, and I don't have to tell anyone in here, that we are living in some pretty volatile times politically in Europe and indeed throughout the Western world. This year we've had political earthquakes in the UK, in the US, and most recently in Italy. And next year we could be looking at more earthquakes in France, and the Netherlands, and Germany. So what we're going to talk about here today is how business and political leaders can work together to try to find solutions that might alleviate some of the concerns people are having that are making them gravitate toward nationalist, populist solutions. So I might ask each of you first, coming from the worlds of business and politics, how do you think that business leaders and politicians can better work together to reduce the influence of nationalism in Europe today? Kaja, why don't we start with you?
Well, first of all, I think the cooperation is always very important because the business side creates jobs, and of course politicians want to make the environment better for creating jobs and keeping jobs in Europe. So we have to very carefully listen to the industry and business, what are the concerns, because eventually the worries of people come down to the everyday life, so that they have something to do and they have somebody to love and something to wait for, like basic elements of happiness, and if they don't have that, then they start to have anxieties, fears, and this all leads to results that we see nowadays.
Yeah. Hendrik, what do you think?
I think there's a huge opportunity to come up with partnerships between the private sector and the public sector to really come up with the right framework of policies that promote economic growth, employment, investment, and productivity. My sense that a lot of the political disruption that we're seeing is probably also a consequence of business disruptions and shocks on the labor markets from trade, from technology introductions, and so I think it's extremely important to address those issues, and I think business is particularly well placed to engage in discussions with policymakers on what works and what doesn't work. I, for one, don't think that nationalism or its little brother protectionism are policy measures that work. I don't think they promote prosperity, and I think that this has been tested empirically in the past. And so we need other policy measures to address probably very relevant concerns of citizens.
And I also think it's a clash of values, in a sense that we have to choose whether we go for openness or protecting what we have. And as you said, this hasn't really worked in past, but we see voices for protecting the existing, whether it's existing business models or borders or whatever. We see these voices rising everywhere, and we have to understand where they come from, because if people are afraid, then fear is too strong emotion to just say that it's okay and it's going to go away. So we have to take these things into account and show that the openness is also a possibility, and it entails so much more opportunities, actually.
Just to remind our viewers, we're here at the GE Garages. I'm talking to MEP Kaja Kallas and GE VP Hendrik Bourgeois. And you can ask your questions online also in the comments right down there below this video. Just shoot us your questions and I can read them aloud to our two guests. So we were just talking about how people's personal security, their economic security, matters in terms of whether or not they are lulled into simple populist solutions. But of course the difficulty is we are simultaneously in an economic slowdown in Europe, and of course investors and businesses are holding on to their money, they're not investing. So how do we, Hendrik, how do we encourage growth? How do we make people spend, make companies spend and invest in such an anxious time?
Yeah, I think you need to build the right investment environment, and there are a number of things that policymakers and politicians can do to promote the right investment environment. Some of that is already being promoted by European Union institutions, by